Hi everyone, welcome to Mystic Soul Art and DIY. My name is Jess, and today I'm very excited to share this DIY rose mirror tutorial with you guys. I made it for about $65, but you could probably make it for even less than that if you already have some of the supplies and if you end up thrifting some of them. So yeah, if you would like to learn how to make this really nice mirror, then go ahead and stay tuned for the rest of the video. So when choosing the mirror that I wanted to use for this project, I knew I wanted an oval mirror from the jump. I had kind of trouble finding it at first. I went to TJ Maxx, and here you can see the footage. They had a couple good options. They had a couple that were kind of oval but not quite, like the edges were straight instead of being completely curved around the whole thing. So that wasn't the look I was going for. They were also quite pricey. Like the closest one I found was $50. And I just didn't want this project to be like over $100 or even more than like $80. I ended up finding one at Walmart, which I'll show you guys a little bit later on when I show you all of the supplies. Another challenging part of this DIY was finding the right roses to use. We went to Michael's to see what they had as far as options in the floral department, and we found some beautiful ones. Like these right here. They were very realistic looking and they were very pretty, but I distinctly remember each one of these roses was like $12.99. So that's $13 for one rose. At this point I didn't have the mirror, but I was assuming I would need about 20 to 25 depending on the size. And I just cannot see myself spending $13 for one rose. Like, that's kind of crazy. Now, they did have the 40% off sale. I don't think I had seen that when I was in the store, to be honest. But still, I did find these, but they were just too big. I did not want the mirror to be bulky. These right here that we're looking at, they were very pretty, but they were kind of shiny. And they came in a bunch of like 3. They had 2 rosebuds and 1 rose, and that just wasn't going to work for what I had in mind. Also, once again, there was the price point that was just too much. These were probably the best option that I found. Actually, they were $1.99 each, so they would have worked in terms of kind of like pricing, but it still would have been almost 40 something, 50 something with tax, maybe even a little bit more for the all the roses I needed to get. So I just wasn't seeing any options that I really wanted to go with, and the ones I really loved, they were just too expensive. Like these right here, these were probably my favorite. These and one that y'all are gonna see a little bit later on. I loved these. They reminded me of like the roses you would see around the castle for Beast in Beauty and the Beast. I really loved those. My boyfriend thought they looked like they were dying, but I thought they were really pretty, and I would have loved to do something like that. But once again, too expensive, so we moved on. These were a little bit too pink for me. These right here, I loved this one. That was like a wild rose looking one, but it was the only one of those that they had. So I ended up finding them online. So now I'm gonna go ahead and talk to you guys about the supplies I'm using. I ended up finding the perfect oval mirror, like perfect size and everything, at Walmart, at my local Walmart. I just did the curbside pickup. I actually purchased it through the app because they only had a few left and I wanted to make sure I would get one. I had looked online. I just googled like oval mirror, and I did not find any options that were affordable or a good size that I wanted. Everything I found was either too small or too expensive. So I'm really glad I was able to get this one for a good price. It was $27 after tax in my area. And I did not look on Facebook Marketplace or any other secondhand, store. I don't know why I didn't do that. I guess I had a specific vision in mind for the type of mirror I wanted, and to be honest, I should have looked. I might have found something even better. But I strongly recommend doing that because you'll probably find a really good option. You might even find something for a little bit cheaper than I did. Like I said, mine was $27, but you might find something more affordable than that, or you might just find a really cool vintage piece that would look really amazing with the roses. So here I'm showing you guys the roses. I got them off of Amazon. They were 25 roses for about $11 to $12 after tax, and I actually really like them. They're made of foam, so they're somewhat easy to clean, and they were just really pretty. They had really good reviews, so those were the ones I went with. I'm also using the Gorilla Hot Glue Sticks and the Gorilla Hot Glue Gun. It all came together for about $12. And I'm also going to be using some scissors to kind of cut the stems off the roses. I ended up having to switch to wire cutters though, but overall this project cost me about $65. Here I'm just starting to cut off the stems off of the back of the roses so that they can lie flat on the mirror. I started using scissors for it, but it was just not working out, guys. I mean, it was thicker wire than I had originally calculated, so I ended up switching to wire cutters, and the rest of the process went really smoothly. Well, somewhat smoothly. It was a little bit hard, but only because my wire cutters were kind of dull. So I just went ahead and cut all of the stems off the back of the roses. One thing I will say about these roses though is that some of them did have kind of black little dots on them. Some of them were a little bit dirty, but it's nothing that you can really see from far away. Like, you'd have to be right on the mirror to be like inspecting it and seeing it. So I wasn't really worried about it. Also, it was 25 roses for about $11, so I couldn't really complain. These roses also came with 6 leaf clusters that I really loved the look of. I wish it had come with more, but then again, you don't really see the leaves too much in the finished product just because it has roses all around it. I'm just gonna go ahead and start arranging them here. I originally laid all the roses out, and then I was like, it's a little bit difficult to see where exactly I want the leaf clusters to go. So I end up taking all the roses back off and just arranging the leaves by themselves to make sure that it looks good and that it's evenly spaced out. This is kind of what I had decided on. I was going to do 2 in the upper right hand corner, 2 in the lower left hand corner, and then space the other ones out a little bit more. I think I ended up changing how I originally had it from this point, but I didn't want the mirror to look too matchy-matchy. I wanted it to look more organic. At the end of the day, I think the leaf clusters ended up being like symmetrical all around, just because it looked weird any other way I did it. I think if it would have been like a square mirror, it would have looked really nice that way, but just being oval, it just wasn't looking good if I did it any other way than symmetrical. So I did a lot of arranging, got second, third, and fourth opinions, and ended up deciding on this arrangement or something kind of like that. Once I ended up gluing them down, they did kind of shift from where I had originally put them. So now that I have it all laid down on the mirror, I'm going to go ahead and start gluing these down so that they don't move as I glue the rest of the roses down. A couple of things I want to really quickly mention is you don't have to do roses for this mirror, guys. Obviously, you have options, and what I think would be a really nice option is doing kind of like a wildflower looking mirror, which I might end up trying to make just maybe at a smaller scale later on. But I got these little flower bunches from my local Dollar Tree for $1 each, and they're really pretty. I'm sure they have specific names, I just wouldn't know them off the top of my head. But they just kind of look like wildflowers that you would find growing near the side of the road. So they just pop right off, and then you can just glue the actual flower part to your mirror. And I think it would look really pretty. Another thing you could do is use just the leaves to fill in any spaces and gaps that you have on your mirror from the roses that doesn't necessarily fit a whole rose in that spot, which I ended up doing later, and I'll show you guys in a second. Here, after much arranging, I am finally gluing them down. I'm just putting a little dot of hot glue on the mirror and laying the leaf cluster on top of it. Now, it was melting the plastic a little bit, but not enough to like worry me. And I just kind of had to hold it in place for a while as the glue dried a little bit. It was weird using hot glue after so long. I've used it before in like school a long time ago and like DIY projects way back in the day when I still would actually make some, but I was not used to how slow this hot glue was drying. I don't know if it's just this brand, but I've just always felt like hot glue dries pretty fast, and this one was taking a while, so I would actually have to hold the roses and hold the leaves on some of them just to make them stay in the way that I wanted them to. I went ahead and sped this part up for you guys just because it was a little bit tedious. I was just going around gluing down roses as I went, and I did end up putting pieces of computer paper on the mirror just to protect the edges from getting any hot glue on them. I didn't want to have to scrape off the hot glue and risk scratching the mirror in any way. So I filled in the spaces with the roses just so I could make sure I would have a good amount of space between them. It wasn't perfect. There were spots that had too much space. There were spots that were a little bit more crowded. Like if I was looking from the bottom of the mirror to the top, the left side was a little bit more crowded. I ended up fixing this, and I'll show you guys how I do it later on. But it wasn't going to be perfect. These roses were all different sizes, and I still think it turned out really nice. But yeah, just make sure to lay down something to protect the surface of your mirror so you don't end up having to scrape off that hot glue. So at this point, I'm just going around and finishing gluing up all the roses that still need to be glued down. And like I said earlier, there was some spaces between some of them, and some of them were a little bit more crowded. So what I ended up doing was cutting off the petals to the extra roses I had at the base of it so I could still use them for something else if I needed to, and you wouldn't be able to see it if the rose was lying flat. So I took those petals, glued them onto the ones that needed a little bit more volume to them, and that way the ones on the left side of the mirror, which was kind of the more crowded side, didn't look as bulky, and the ones on the right looked a little bit more full. Now there were still some spaces that were kind of peeking through, like the wood of the mirror was kind of peeking through, and what I did was I took those leaves from the Dollar Tree bunch flowers. I took those and I glued them in between, and I tried to kind of make it even all around so it just wouldn't be in one spot. Those are the little leaves that you see that are more spiky, and it was really nice. It ended up giving it like a more of a wild rose type finish. And here is the finished product. I absolutely love the way it turned out. I think it looks so pretty, and there's so many different ways you could go with this. Just these roses that I ordered off of Amazon alone had tons of different color options to choose from, so you could really match it to the decor you already have in your house and it will look amazing. I also think this would make a super unique gift as well, especially for a nursery. I think it would look really pretty in there. And if you decide to recreate this, please go ahead and tag me at Mystic Soul Art DIY on Instagram. I'll have it linked down below as well. But yeah, if you decide to make it, please guys tag me, because it would absolutely make my day and I would love to see it. So if you enjoyed this video, like and comment down below letting me know, especially if you would do something differently, like what color roses would you use, or what flower would you use, just anything you would do differently, because I'm always looking for more inspiration as well. And go ahead and subscribe to my channel, because I have a ton more DIYs planned that are going to be coming soon. Thank you guys so much again, and see y'all next time.